Okay, so we figured out how, based on how much we're going to sell every quarter next year, we used that to tell us how much we need to produce, and it's not exactly the same. Okay, it's usually a little higher until that last quarter of the year when it's a little lower. What we need to produce is a little less than what we're going to sell. And what we have to do now is take the number of units that we're going to produce and figure out how much raw material we need to purchase. Now, our t-shirts that we are manufacturing here require plain white t-shirts and some ink. We're printing the t-shirts. And so there's going to be two pieces to this direct materials purchasing budget. Okay. So, just like, first of all, just like with the overall production, right, not only do we need to have finished t-shirts left over in inventory, we also need to make sure that we have enough materials in inventory that we can make what we need, and so that we have a little bit of slack. So just like normally, we need to purchase everything that we need for what we're making, plus what we need in ending inventory minus what we had in beginning inventory. So this should all start looking pretty familiar to you. Okay, and here's our story. Okay, so we are going to produce, 1060, 1260, 1600, 1800 units. Okay, so plain t-shirts. Okay, so here we have a lot of information, and just as before, I'm going to lay it out in these assumptions and requirements. So, okay, we have $3 each for the t-shirts. We know that we need one t-shirt to make one printed t-shirt, right? We have 20 cents per ounce for the ink, and it takes 5 ounces of ink to make a printed shirt. Okay? It is our policy to have 10% of the following quarter's sales in our production needs in our inventory when we have ending inventory. And then, let's see, our beginning inventory was, we require 106 plain t-shirts at the year end, and we required 530, we had, 530 ounces. We require 530 ounces in year-end inventory. I'm having a little bit of a speaking problem. Okay. And we had 58 units at the beginning, and we had 390 ounces of ink on hand at the beginning. All right, so this is getting a little bit more complicated, right? Up in our production budget, we just had these 3 little assumptions. Up here, we have a whole lot more assumptions, and that's partially because we have 2 different items that we need to be purchasing in order to be building our shirts or manufacturing our printed shirts. So that is setting up the assumptions, and then what we have to do is prepare a direct materials purchase budget. Okay, so the PowerPoints go through these subsidiary calculations for you, but I think it's easier to just show you in Excel how to do it. Okay, so here's our direct materials purchases budget for the coming year for t-shirts. Okay, so this is just for the t-shirts. I'm going to unhide my blank schedule here that I made for you, and let's start filling it in with cell references and calculations. Okay, so our units to be produced, we're going to pick up from that line up there. Okay, so we'll take that for the whole row. And then our direct materials per unit we will also pick up. So we have one t-shirt. We are going to make that an absolute cell reference, so I can pull that across. There's one material per one plain t-shirt per fancy t-shirt that we made. So that means that we are going to have to buy that many plain t-shirts every quarter for production. Okay. Our ending inventory, right, so our ending inventory needs to be 10% of next quarter's production needs, right? So that's going to be 10%. Again, we make that a absolute cell reference. 10% times, I'm sorry, I didn't complete the calculations, 10% times next quarter's needs. So there's that. Now remember, just like before, right, if we just drag that formula all the way out to the fourth quarter is going to be picking up off of the yearly total, which is not what we want to do, right? So we need to, let's see, how much are we planning? There it is. So this needs to be 106. So we don't care how we calculated that. We're just going to say it's 106. We're going to pick that up from that. And there it is. Okay. And then, of course, our ending inventory for the year is going to be this 106 figure there. Okay. So then our total needs, right, we got to add the ending inventory to the production needs. We can just drag that calculation out across 5826, and then again, just like before, we're going to subtract our beginning inventory. So in the first case, it was 58 given up above. We enter it as a negative number. And in the second quarter, it's going to be the negative of our ending inventory here. 126, we can pull that one across. And again, just like before, our beginning inventory for the year was our beginning inventory for the year. So you can't just, drag that calculation across. And so this is how much we need to purchase. The sum of those two. Okay, now our cost per t-shirt is $3. We make that an absolute cell reference by including a $sign. Drag that across, and we can have our total purchase cost, which is the number of shirts that we need to purchase times the cost that we pay for those shirts. So there is our direct materials budget for plain white t-shirts. And for whatever reason, this thing is not, I'll do something else. See, sometimes when I'm recording videos, my computer doesn't work right, but what I can do is just copy and paste. That'll work, and that gives me, right? So, interestingly, right, our cost for just the plain t-shirts is $17,000, and remember, our revenue for the year was $57,000. So far, it looks like we're making some good money here. But let's look at the ink then. Let's see if we can do that same procedure. For whatever reason, your PowerPoints don't have this consistent formatting. I think they had multiple people working on the PowerPoints, but it's the same procedure, right? So we have units to be produced. We're going to pick that up from the row above, just like before. Our direct material per unit for the ink, that has a typo. Okay. There we go. Okay, our direct material per unit for the ink now, it's not just 1 unit of ink. It's 5 units of ink, 5 ounces of ink for every t-shirt. So there's that, 5. So that'll give us, we need 5,300 units of ink. And then our desired ending inventory is going to be 10% of next quarter's production, just like before. 10% absolute cell reference times next unit's production needs of this raw material, 630. Now at the 4th quarter, right, just like before, that isn't calculating right? Let's see, we just need this to be 530 here. There, we'll pick that up there. So our ending inventory here is 530, just like before. So that means we need in total, that plus that, copy that formula out. And then we subtract out our beginning inventory just like before. So we take the negative of this figure here for the first column, and then for the second quarter, our beginning inventory is going to be the negative of our ending inventory for the preceding quarter. We do that all the way through. Our ending inventory, our beginning inventory for the year is that 390 number, right? So that means that our direct materials, this should be really starting to look very familiar, right? So that's those two together. So our direct material to be purchased calculates as the sum of this positive number and this negative number. And then our ink costs 20 cents per ounce. Take that as an absolute cell reference. Times our amount of direct purchases. Get rid of those decimals and then drag that across. And so our total purchase cost for the ink then, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I went a little bit crazy there. So this is supposed to be the 20 cents per ounce. I did the calculation. I took a step off. Sorry about that. So we're going to make that blue. And we are going to take that across. And then our purchase cost is going to be that times the amount of units of it, so it's at that 1108, and then drag that across, and there it is. Okay, so that's the cost for our ink. I'm just going to do the formatting real quick, because I like it when things look neat. I find it's helpful in terms of navigating what you're doing and where you are, if you make it look as neat as you can every step of the way. So now, right, that gets us to this line over here in this PowerPoint slide. So the next thing we have to do is figure out the grand total direct material, which is, of course, our total purchase cost of ink and total purchase cost of t-shirts. So here's our t-shirt purchase, and there's our ink purchase, and it's $44.92 for the first quarter, copying out across each quarters, and you get to $23,000 for direct materials, $23,052. So that's how you do your direct materials when you have more than one element that goes into producing your product.